All right, y'all. We got a pretty basic problem here. Our job is to find the formula for each of the graphs. So we've got our neat little graph here. We can look at the midline and we see that the center of the graph is here along the x-axis, perfectly straight line there. So we know the midline is at a y value of 0. The amplitude is how far the minimum and maximum points are from the midline. So if we look, we can see this is right at about 1.5. Same here on the bottom for the minimum points, about negative 1.5. Flawless. Okay. And the period is how long a whole segment is. And so since this looks like a sine graph because it starts here on the midline, goes up, comes down, and then ends about here. So this is about one whole segment. And we see that that length is exactly pi over 2. So one period is pi over 2. And the phase shift, well, it starts right there on the origin, so there is no phase shift. It doesn't move. All right, and with this information, we can pretty easily build a equation to match it. We know that since the midline is 0, that it does not raise at all. So we can just start out with sine, put the sign there, I guess, and the amplitude is 1.5, and so that's going to be multiplied to the front of the sine. I know the 5 in sine looks similar, just ignore that. All right, and so we put in the period here. We know that in the equation, the number in the equation that equals the period is that number, 2 pi divided by that number. So we can go over here, pi over 2, and do that, say, times x equals 2 pi. So if we divide out the pi over 2, we're basically just going to end up with, 2 over pi times 2 pi, which is, long story short, going to give us x equals 4. So we're going to have in the parentheses 4x, and since the phase shift is 0, we won't have anything added or subtracted. So this here is our equation.